1. Stand by.
Are you ready for a change?
I am talking to you.
Then get ready to explore the quantum possibilities. It's time to transform that outdated paradigm into something universal and new. Time to uncover the truth hidden beneath the veil of lies. A time to think outside the box as we link to a higher consciousness. Welcome to the awakening. And now the hosts of Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori Love and Augie Nost.
Well, hello, Unity Unicorns and ubiquitous UFOlogists. How are you? How are you feeling tonight? It's Tuesday night. So happy to be here with you guys. Just quick thank you. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for following us on excuse me, I didn't mean to say that, on YouTube and checking out our website at Broadcast Team Alpha. So how's it going for you guys? I mean, what are you even thinking about as far as UFOs and ufology goes? Has it taken a back seat with all of the COVID stuff and what's on the political stage? And tonight we're actually going to move it into the front seat just for a little while. Everything will still be there when we get back. So settle in, turn up your ufology antenna, or suspend your disbelief for the next, 45 minutes. I'm going to, and maybe we'll learn something new. We have a remarkable guest, Augie. Can you tell us about our guest?
Oh, yes, I can. For those
Hi,
of you
Augie.
guys,
I didn't say hello.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yeah, for those of you out there interested in UFOs, don't go anywhere. This is going to get interesting. We have Ken Pfeiffer with us. He is a field investigator of unexplainable aerial phenomena. Well, I still like to call them UFOs. And he works with MUFON and have investigated over 1,100 cases. I slowed down on that number a little bit because I think that's an absolute most of anybody out there. And some of these cases that he's investigated are some doozies, and we're going to hear about that. He is also an assistant state director for MUFON in New Jersey and past state directors for Rhode Island and Vermont, and is the international director for several countries in Europe and Asia. And he is one of the original members of the MUFON Star Team. And those are the ones that get the first call when there is a landing somewhere by something strange, or a crash site, or a sighting with pictures and whatever that may be. And he has had 7 personal sightings and a close encounter near Area 51 in 2006, and I love to hear about that too. And he is the founder and author of a website with over, here we go again, 12,000 UFO pictures. And you will find that at worldufophotos.org. And that is actually the website with the most UFO pictures in the world.
It
Wow.
beats your website?
It sure does.
Unbelievable. I didn't think that was possible.
Don't even have half of that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I got to mention also that he's got another website that's worldufophotosannews.org. And that's got 2,800 case files of landings and pictures and contacts and all kinds of stuff. So, folks,
Wow.
You got to go there, especially the photo gallery on the worldufophotos.org. I've been there, and it's going to take you about 3 weeks to go through all that. This is phenomenal. And also, he's a veteran, and I'm going to really enjoy to say this. He's also a fellow pilot. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Welcome, Ken.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on, that's for sure.
So good to have you. So Ken, I'm gonna just jump back to the very beginning for a minute, for curiosity's sake. How did this start for you? How did I mean, you're with MUFON. That's huge. So how did this even begin for you? Did you like have a random encounter and it sparked your interest, or?
Well, essentially, when I was a child, it kind of all in a crazy way began back then. We moved to a town called National Park, New Jersey. I was 7 years old, and National Park was directly across the Delaware River from the Philadelphia Naval Yard and also Philadelphia International Airport. So I've been looking in the skies for over 50 years because of the airplanes, and my father was a World War II veteran in the Navy. And he was he always took us to airports and showed us a lot of things that would really pique your curiosity. And I had my first sighting in '74. Of course, I've always been interested in the stars in the sky. And I had my first sighting in '74. Me and a friend, we were coming home from a nightclub in South Jersey. It was about 2:33 a.m. in the morning. And I was a passenger, and my friend was driving, of course, and we were coming down Route 295 towards a town called Mount Ephraim, Westville area in South Jersey. And I happened to look up, and I saw this huge turquoise glowing disc. It was just in and out of the cloud cover. I guess the cloud cover was maybe at around 300 feet, and this thing was peeking in and out of it. And of course, the sighting only lasted a couple seconds, and the craft was heading the other way. And I got all excited, and me and my friend, we drove around South Jersey all night, almost till the sun come up, looking for this thing. and we didn't find it, of course, but thank God, my friend didn't see it, I did. And thank God, the next day, I believe it was the Woodbury Times back in '74, had an article about Deptford policemen and many witnesses in the Deptford, New Jersey area saw a UFO. So I was kind of glad that someone else saw it and not just me. But that.
So you didn't think it was tequila?
That really piqued my curiosity right there. So that was one of the shocking moments in my life.
So I'm just going to ask a random question, if I may. Have you ever heard of or seen any ships that not only go in the sky, but they go underwater?
Myself, no, I haven't seen any USOs per se. No, I've only seen the ones in the sky.
Okay.
Well, quite frankly, I think my theory is that is the perfect hiding place for these alien. I call them alien craft. I don't even call them UFOs. I call them I call them what they are. Mm-hmm. These alien craft, the perfect place to hide is rivers, lakes, oceans. Because these craft are somewhat like submarines. They have to be pressurized. Mm-hmm. I would think that they're pressurized because if anything goes under the water, it's going to flood with water. So these craft are pressurized where I think that's the perfect place for these things to hide. As a matter of fact, my boss, George Filer, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's an icon in the UFO community. He's the state director of New Jersey, and I've been working for him since 2005. And he lives on Medford Lakes in New Jersey, South Jersey, and he had a disc come up out of the lake, right basically in front of his property. This was years ago, but this thing came out of the water and just took off. So, that alone is incredible.
What do you think they're doing down there? Are they just sitting there maybe just pass the time and hide for a while until maybe another occasion comes up? Or is it maybe they're doing some research? Or what do you think?
I'm not really sure. I think they're just down there hiding. It's the perfect place to hide. And of course, the dark side of the moon. That's probably one of the bases. I'm sure they have a base on the dark side of the moon, but No, they're just kind of staying out of sight until until apparently they're spying on us. There are a lot of these. We get many sighting reports of orbs, and a lot of these orbs I feel are just craft that are looking us over on Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see here we have a question. Maybe we could run that question real quick by you. Shady D says, does Ken know anything about a UFO base under Lake Ontario?
I've heard about a base under Lake Ontario. As a matter of fact, I believe Lake Superior may have the same thing. There seems to be these UFO bases under, like I said, most of course, the Great Lakes, and they're under a lot of bodies of water throughout the United States and the world, I feel.
Yeah, I totally agree. I am absolutely on board with that one.
Speaking of the dark side of the moon, do you think that we went to the moon in the 60s, or what's your take on that?
Don't get me started on that. I've got so many people criticize me with what I've found. It's crazy, but of course, I hope we went. I really do. I saw it. I was there that night. My parents were having a party down in the basement. I was upstairs watching it on TV. When he landed on the moon and took the first step, and it was the most exciting time ever. But I'll tell you what, with all the research that I've done on the landing, it seems to me that we really couldn't do it back in '69. We didn't have the technology. As a matter of fact, I think the government was trying to, with John Kennedy promising that, this decade we're going to go to the moon and do this and that. We had so much pressure upon us with trying to get to the moon by 1970. Plus, the Russians supposedly were ahead of us in the space race, which they actually really weren't. But, there was just so much pressure upon us to get to the moon that we finally, I don't know if you realize it, but John F. Kennedy went to Russia when he was alive, of course. So this was probably back in '61, '62. I'm not sure the exact date, but he went to Russia and he asked the premier if we could do a joint venture to the moon. And the reason why I feel he did this is he knew that we couldn't do it. We needed help to do it. And back in, back when things were ready to take off, they finally, they just realized that it couldn't be done. Like, what are we going to do now? And Gus Grissom, he was one of the pilots, Grissom, White, and Chaffee. They were killed in one of the Apollo testing. They were testing one of the capsules, and of course there was a flash fire, a oxygen fire, and they all died. And quite frankly, Gus Grissom, he probably would have been the first man to step foot on the moon because he was the leading guy at the time. He was in Mercury. He was a Mercury astronaut, but he was very, very critical of NASA and the program and the Apollo, and he felt that it just was not safe. And I think that I hate to be one of the conspiracy theorists, but I feel that the government got rid of Gus Grissom because they knew that he would never agree to fake the moon landings. So that's something to think about. But look on my website, World UFO Photos and News.org. I have a special gallery on there. I think I may have a couple hundred photos that I can't explain. I mean, these are things that it's very weird. Some of the photos and of the astronauts and quite frankly, I think it was all fake.
So being with MUFON, have you examined cases that people have turned in? What was your role with MUFON?
Well, I was a regular investigator. I started in 2005 and I was the only investigator in Jersey with George Fowler. So I jumped in with both feet and started investigating cases But basically, all we really do is catalog cases. You know, I may call someone. We always do it by phone. There's been many times that I've went to the person's house because, you know, it's a very, very good case or something that I had to speak to the witness about. But 99 times out of 100, we're doing our cases over the phone, asking, you know, the people. We're just basically verifying everything that the witness put on the form that they have to fill out when they submit a UFO case file. So all we're really doing is you know, verifying information, and we're making a determination as to whether we think that the witness actually saw something or didn't, and reclassify these cases as we're not allowed to classify cases as, you know, witness saw an alien craft or something like that. We have to classify the case as unknown. Or we could classify the case as IFO, identified flying object, was basically saying that the witness saw the moon, he saw a bird, he saw a satellite in the sky, something like that. And it's very rare we get a hoax, but hoaxes are usually really easy to debunk because they, you know, they're usually so stupid it can't be real. You know, like sometimes they would. Their name would be Mickey Mouse and they live in Disneyland, you know, things like that, you know that this is a big fake and we would just close the case out as a hoax. But it's very rare. It's very rare with all the cases I've investigated. I've done over 1,100 more than that, actually. I've only had a handful of people who I feel were really actually trying to hoax something.
So how many, what percentage of people actually had meaningful, a significant, you know, noteworthy interaction with whoever was in the vehicles?
You mean in reference to the cases that I investigated?
Yes.
I would say that I probably classified at least 70% as unknown.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because you really don't know, and the problem with MUFON, the problem they're having now, the problem they've had in the past, are these investigators are guessing. Or they're saying to themselves, oh, you know, the witness probably saw a UFO, or the witness probably may have seen a you know, birds flying over at high altitude, or they may have seen this. They may, you know, they're guessing, and they're putting down like IFO, identified flying object. So that's the problem that MUFON is having right now. Is they need good investigators, people who really know what they're doing. And I think a lot of investigators have their own agenda. I think there's a lot of debunkers in MUFON.
Yeah.
Well, they need to hire nurses. They do really good examinations like that.
Yeah. And with the problem MUFON's been having lately, that's another story. So. Yeah, I was state director of Vermont and Rhode Island for many years, and you know, with my freedom of speech on Facebook, apparently there's a lot of MUFON members who are from the other political party, and they didn't appreciate what I was saying, so they had basically got me removed from being state director for Vermont and Rhode Island. And as a matter of fact, Jan Harzane, he called me a couple days before he got arrested to tell me that, you know, let's keep it down, Ken. We're going to remove you from state director. You know, things may change in the future. Keep a low profile, blah blah blah. So, you know, and then he gets arrested for his thing.
Wow.
But yeah, it's MUFON. The crazy thing about MUFON, I love MUFON. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I've been with them since 2005. I'm still with them.
Right.
And I'm a complainer. I've been a thorn in their side since day one, and everybody knows me. Some people love me, some people hate me. I really don't care. I'm 70 years old. I don't care.
And you're from New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey.
You really don't care. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So it's they've always, from day one, MUFON has always puzzled me they would have their conferences, yearly conferences in Las Vegas or California, and, a big thing. They try to get thousands of people there and try to get some good speakers and everything. But they never had a photo presentation of UFO photos. That's like being in the Audubon Society, going to their yearly conference in Paris.
No birds.
And then not having any photos of birds.
Right. Right. I get it.
That blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
how many times have you suggested that to them?
Oh, to all of them. I've been through many directors, and I've told all of them, and it's like crickets. They never respond. I've even told them hey guys, I know a lot of you don't believe all the photos I have on my website. Of course, most of them are from MUFON, believe it or not. But I tell them, why don't you use my website as a training tool? You can always get a witness. A lot of 90% of the witnesses never have photos, but if you go to my website, you can go through my website and find something that looks like what you may have seen. So we can add that photo to the case file as a rendering, or witness saw something like this. Again, crickets. I never got any response from it. So I basically realized that I'm on my own. If they're not going to toot my horn, I'm going to have to toot it for myself, which I do on like I'm doing right now. And it's just it just boggles my mind sometimes. They just quite frankly, I think that there's a possibility that MUFON started after Project Blue Book ended, and I believe it was 69, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 59? Let me think. It may have been 59. Well, whatever. The MUFON started essentially after Project Blue Book ended. And, of course, Project Blue Book was headed by Alan Hynek, and he was the one who investigated all the cases for the Air Force. And his job was to debunk all of the cases he was investigating. But eventually, over time, Alan Hynek, he started to believe it. So... they finally got rid of Project Blue Book, and MUFON started, and I started MUFON. Now this is back, it was 40 years ago, and I got with MUFON, and I'm saying to myself, I was only with MUFON 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm saying to myself, is this all there is? I mean, is this all these people have done within the last 50 years with the UFO phenomenon that's going on? So. Like I said, I love them to death. I'll be with them. I'll stay with them until they let me go. But I love it because of the case files. They get a ton of great photos, a ton of cases, and I'm hoping that a lot of some of them good investigators in MUFON, I'm hoping they're the ones assigned to these cases so they can. Investigate these things, or even take it a step further with a lot of these cases.
So we have about 30 seconds to the break, and we'll see you on the other side.
This is the Broadcast Team Alpha Show, hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. The one show that takes your doubts of the unknown and spins them into reality. Share your thoughts by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More cutting-edge conversation and exploration of the quantum universe after this. Immerse yourself in an epic journey through time where ancient mysteries unfold within a story of love and betrayal, as well as a battle of good versus evil in The Emissary Book 1. The reader's favorite Gold Medal Award winner for Visionary Fiction 2019, The Action and Adventure of The Emissary continues in The Emerald Tablet, Book to the 2019's Bronze Medal Award winner, The Emissary and the Emerald Tablet by Tamara Veach and Rennie DeFazio are both available now on Amazon.com. Let your reading adventure begin.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Great.
It's great. I think it's great. I think it's
The all-new KCOR Digital Radio Network.
great.
Make a note of it.
It's great.
If ever a breed was affectionate to a fault, it's the Golden Retriever. They're people dogs, pure and simple. And the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada needs your help. If you would like to volunteer, foster, adopt, or donate, go to the Golden Retriever Rescue of Southern Nevada's website at grrsn.org. That's grrsn.org. Or call 598-GOLD. That's 598-GOLD.
Looking for a radio show like no other?
We need something brand new.
Then tune into the KCOR Digital Radio Network, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and get ready for The Quantum Shift. A great shift of consciousness is sweeping across the Earth. Are you ready for the dimensional shift?
It is amazing, is it not?
The Quantum Shift. Hosted by Dr. Sam Muggsy, Kent Dunn, and Gary Parson. Be part of the fifth dimensional reality, where consciousness prevails and the universal law of one is the only true reality. The Quantum Shift. Live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Going live.
Come explore the quantum possibilities. This is Broadcast Team Alpha. To be on the show live, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts of the show on Twitter at KCOR Radio, #KCOR. Or join the cutting edge conversation live in our chat room at KCORradio.com. Now back to Broadcast Team Alpha with your free thinking hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nast.
And I told you we would see you on the other side. So, hi, Margaret. Hello, Shady D. Doc who? You know, I can't help but wonder who that is when they put a question mark at the end of it. It's like, Doc who? Is that my ex-husband or Iowa girl? Hello, JC, Joe, Marco, Karen. Hello, Lisa. I said Margaret. I'll say Margaret twice. Naj is here. Parked Cake is here. Rob is here. Summer Wave Rider. Yappy is here. And I was just trying to scroll down and almost privately messaged Yappy, and that's all that I can see right now. If I have not said your name, please forgive me. You know that I love you guys being in the chat room with us. So we were talking about some interesting stuff during the break. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, we almost made it to the moon. Maybe not, but I can't help it. We were talking about that before the break and a little earlier. The question is, did we go to the moon? I just want your opinion on just a quick little thing here, Ken, and that is that when we look at the fact that we are supposed to have gone to the moon, how did we get through the Van Allen belt and that electronic barrier that is kind of like similar. If you put a fork in the microwave and turn the knob to the right, it would be somewhat like that, wouldn't it? How can they get through in that tin can they were traveling in?
Well, you just said the word tin can. I think if the United States, like I said, they probably do now. I hope they do. But back in '69, the equipment was a tin can, and they would have never survived going through the Van Allen belt. That's for sure. And that's one of the things that have always made me wonder about this whole thing. And there's really not too much of an explanation about that, because I've researched that on the internet, and there's really not too much of an explanation about the Van Allen belt and how they got through and all this and that. But that's a biggie right there.
So in the chat room, Shady D said, but if the moon is a space station, why would we not go there?
Well, I'm sure, like I said, we're probably there now. I'm sure we are. If we don't have the technology to at least go to the moon, what's all this talk about going to Mars?
I don't know. I mean, that faking going to the moon thing is just, I mean, what a big lie that would be.
Yeah, well, just like disclosure. I mean, with the UFOs, I mean, I cannot fathom a president, even Trump. I love Trump, but that's another story. He says it like it is. But I just couldn't even fathom Trump wanting to go on TV and saying that, hey, people, there's alien craft in our atmosphere, and we really can't do nothing about it. That's a hot potato that no one, even though we have all the evidence. The military has tons and tons of photos and documents and everything in triplicate with the military. Yeah. They have information that could have blown the roof off this whole discussion years ago, and no one wants to touch it. It's a hot potato, and quite frankly, I hope disclosure doesn't happen, because I think people will not be able to handle the truth. I think the religions will be in turmoil. People will be jumping out of windows, and the stock market will crash. That scares me.
Boy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there that want this disclosure, like Dr. Stephen Greer. He's a pretty incredible guy with all the information. He's taken it to the next level, and he's been wanting disclosure. But quite frankly, I think it would be the worst thing that could ever happen.
Shady D said, faking the moon landing could be some food for conspiracy theorists so they don't pay attention to the real moon landing, like crows to a shiny thing. That's an interesting point. And then Wave Rider said, cities on dark side of moon, population on Mars too, we're living in a bubble. Margaret said, I love the chat room, the moon is like 10 million years older than the Earth. How is that possible?
So how is what possible?
I don't know.
Well, actually, 400 million years older, and it's a total different composition, which says that it wasn't even formed in the same cloud of dust as Earth was.
Yeah, it's 250,000 miles from Earth. I know that. Holy smokes! I think. Well, let me put it to you this way. I think the scientists kill me. We get these. 20 years ago, the scientists would say, "Oh, we think there's a couple Earth-like planets out there in the universe." 10 years ago, well, we think there might be a couple hundred UFO, Earth-like planets out there in the universe. Now, I've been preaching this for 20 years. Now they're saying that with every grain of sand on the Earth, every one of them grain of sand would represent an Earth-like planet that's out there in the universe right now.
Yep.
And quite frankly, I believe the universe is so large. I have to say there's no end to it, and how that's possible. There has to be. What if there was an end to it? I mean, what would be on the other side of that wall? A Starbucks?
Well,
that would be good for me, but yeah.
It's It's incredible. There's trillions upon trillions of universes out there and Earth-like planets, and of course it may take 1 trillion light years to get there, but that's how people can't wrap their heads around that is the problem.
So I would like to switch gears just a little bit and ask you about your personal experience with our other friends. I don't like calling them UFOs or aliens either. So tell me about your experience. Did you have an actual experience or just sightings or?
Really, just sightings I had. I'll tell you what. There's one of the incredible sightings that my wife's always been a believer, but she's not a big, as big a believer as I am. I should say that. But she had an incredible sighting. She saw, this was June 4th of 2009, and she sighted a large black triangle with lights on the bottom and at the bottom of the triangle, and she was at the top of a hill on Route 40 just outside of Woodstown, New Jersey, going towards Pole Tavern. She said the triangle hovered over a house on the other side of the road. It made no noise, and Kelly watched her for 5 minutes before she decided to get out of there. The object was the size of a softball at arm's length. Route 40 is a very busy road at night, and there's many trucks, so she didn't want to stick around. She stuck around as long as she could. Time was about 9 p.m., and she was looking out down her roll-down window from the driver's side of the car. Had a clear view of this triangle. The underside of the triangle was lit with rectangular lights. The lights were bright but not blinding. She could not tell if the middle of the triangle was filled in due to the lights. So it could have been a V-shaped craft. It could have been a triangle craft. We're not sure at this point. But the sky was crystal clear, and she was coming home from a hairdresser in Pennsville. The crazy part is she told me about the incident the next day.
Wow. Oh, she didn't tell you that night?
No.
She had to think about it.
I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. But no, she told me the next day. And, of course, she didn't have her camera. And at that time, she didn't have one of these phone cameras on her. So she saw one hell of a sighting there in Jersey. I'm glad she saw it. And then both of us went down to had our close encounter at Area 51. We went to Vegas for 7 days, stayed at the Luxor, and got remarried at the top of the stratosphere, and the whole night. Yeah, so we had a couple days to kill. So I had it planned. I was an investigator for MUFON at the time, and I had it mapped out. I knew just where to go. I says, jump in the car. We're heading out to Area 51, which we did. So we finally made it there. It was only about an hour and a half from Vegas. And we made it to a little town called Rachel. And, of course, Rachel, Nevada's got that little store there, a little restaurant that sells all these UFO stuff, tourist trap.
Little alien.
Yeah, and we stopped there, and I got to talking to the owner, and I says, I researched it, and I says, I know the back gate of Area 51 is around here somewhere. Because I didn't want to go to the front gate. There was, my wife in the car, and there was a lot of people, had problems there with the guards and all this and that. And I didn't want my wife to go through that. So I said, well, let's go to the back gate. So, the lady at the Little Alien Inn said, yeah, it's right down the road, a quarter mile down the road. So we turned around, got in the car, and found in this very wide gravel road that led through the desert, and you can see into the mountain area. And so we started out. So, it was 10 miles from the extraterrestrial highway there in Rachel to the back gates of Area 51. So that's how long the trip was. But we were like about 5 miles into our adventure. And all of a sudden, it was a high-pitched, wavering, very high, ear-shattering noise that floored us. The first thing we did, we basically dived on the floor of the car and just stood there. And the noise only lasted a few seconds, and then it stopped, and we stayed there, and for what seems a long time. And then we finally started to peek our heads up out the window and look around. And I got out of the car at that time and looked around, and there wasn't a damn thing to be seen. So I have no idea what that was. So we said, well, we're halfway there. Let's venture on. So which we did. We got to the back gates of the Area 51, and there was a guardhouse and a large fence with all these signs that says "Don't take photos." And of course, we took photos of all the signs that says "Don't take photos." And so it was. She says to this day that was probably the most exciting thing from the whole trip, going to Area 51. So that was really weird. I don't know what it was, what happened. We didn't get abducted or anything. There wasn't any missing time. I don't think there was. But that was pretty exciting.
Wow.
There's so much evidence out there, too, that these things are real. And I know on the break we were just mentioning that maybe one of the places where there is a lot of evidence is at the Vatican. And the Vatican Library, it's got probably writings from all the way back to about 2,300 years ago when the Library of Alexandria burned. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think they have all the information right there. As a matter of, from what I understand, back in the around 1000 AD, the popes, from what I understand, the popes had many of their monks, many of their clergy go out into the world, and they wanted them to get everything, get all of the scrolls, get all the manuscripts, and bring them back to the Vatican. And I think that's what they did. And I think they got countless amount of scripts and everything from ancient before God was born, before Jesus was born. I just think that place is packed with just incredible things, and we're just not allowed to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love for that to be the great reveal. Yeah.
Oh God, I just don't understand why people haven't pushed more to make that happen.
I don't know. I mean, we keep getting distracted.
Yeah. There's a guy named Schneblin, Dr. Schneblin. He's a Russian immigrant to the United States, as far as I understand. I was at a lecture that he did in Omaha, Nebraska, probably 30 years ago now, and he explained that he was a red-robed cardinal, and he found out what the Catholic Church was up to, and he left. But before he left, he worked in the Vatican Library. And he said that he observed there was a book that had actually pages in it. They were see-through pages, so there was nothing written on them. But when you turned the pages, the book sang to you. And he also said they had a skull in one of the chambers in the catacombs under the Vatican. The skull was 3 feet across the temples.
Wow.
And he mentioned a few other things, and that just totally blew us away when we were sitting in the audience listening to this.
So that was not a crystal skull, that was a skull.
No, a human skull.
Giant skull. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've a lot of people try to debunk this giant thing, but they've been digging up these things all over the United States. These very large people, 8 foot or taller. Some of them are even could be up to 20 feet, and they're unburying these things. And of course, you showed a picture of everyone says CGI. I mean, that's the debunker's favorite word is CGI.
Right. So speaking of CGI, if I may cut you off, forgive me. We were talking before about President Trump saying that they're in our airspace, can't do anything about it. So there was a video, right, a small video clip of a ship behind Air Force One. Did you by chance see it?
Yeah, I do have a couple of videos of, not videos, but I do have some photos of that.
Do you think that was CGI?
No, I don't. I don't think so. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few of our presidents have witnessed UFOs. Jimmy Carter,
Eisenhower went for a ride, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a big thing with Eisenhower.
Wait, he went to the dentist. That's right.
everyone talks about Roswell, but I think Roswell is I'm sick and tired of hearing about Roswell. There's so many cases out there. Even on my website, worldufophotosannews.org, I mean, there are some incredible military cases on there that you can't explain. Just incredible.
Yeah, we were talking on the phone earlier, and you mentioned something about the most important UFO case ever. Maybe say something about that.
Well, I feel that was in Washington D.C. back in 1952. They had a. I hate to read things, but then the reason why I read things is because I don't want to distort any information. But I'm going to read you a very short article I have here about that. The 1952 Washington, D.C. UFO incident, also known as the Washington Flap or the Washington National Airport sightings, was a series of unidentified flying objects reported from July 12th to July 29th, 1952, over Washington, D.C. The most publicized sighting took place on consecutive weekends, July 19 and 20 and July 26 and 27. Events of July 19 and 20 at 11:40 p.m. on Saturday, July 19, 1952, Edward Nugent, an air traffic controller at Washington National Airport, spotted 7 objects on his radar, and the objects were located 15 miles southwest of the city. No known aircraft were in the area, and the objects were not following any established flight paths. Nugent's supervisor, Harry Barnes, a senior air traffic controller at the airport, watched the objects on Nugent's radar scope, and he later wrote he knew immediately that a very strange situation existed. Their movement was completely radical compared to those of ordinary aircraft. So Barnes had 2 controllers check Nugent's radar, and they found that it was working properly. Barnes then called National Airport's other radar center. The controller there, Howard Cochran, told Barnes that he also had the objects on his radar scope. Furthermore, Cochran said that by looking at the control tower window, he could see one of the objects, a bright orange light. I can't tell what's behind it. That's what he said. And at this point, the other object appeared in all sectors of the radar scope. When they moved over the White House and the United States Capitol, Barnes called Andrews Air Force Base, located 10 miles from National Airport. Although Andrews reported that they had no unusual objects on the radar, an airman soon called the base's control tower to report the sighting of strange objects. Airman William Brady, who was in the tower, then said an object which appeared to be like an orange ball of fire trailing a tail. It wasn't like anything I've ever seen before. As Brady tried to alert the other personnel in the tower, the strange object took off at an unbelievable speed. Meanwhile, other persons in the National Airport Control Tower reported seeing an orange disc about 3,000 feet altitude on one of the airport's runways. S.C. Pierman, a Capital Airlines pilot, was waiting in the cockpit of his DC-4 for permission to take off. After spotting what he believed to be a meteor, he was told that the control tower's radar had picked up unknown objects closing in on his position. Pierman observed 6 objects, white, tailless, fast-moving lights. Over a 14-minute period, Clark Pierman was in radio contact with Barnes during his sighting, and Barnes later related that each sighting concurred with a pip we could see near his plane. When he reported that the light streaked off at a high speed, it disappeared on our scopes. So this is a very, very brief statement I made here. This can be found on Wikipedia. All you really have to do is Google Washington, D.C., 1952 UFO. Just Google that, and a ton of stuff will come up, and it's just an amazing article to read. That's on my website, worldufophotosannews.org. But I think that's the mother of all sightings right there over our Capitol, and it's. I think it was days later where I think could have been in general came on the air and said that it was them lights were some kind of a atmospheric anomaly, blah blah blah. And it was the biggest lie told on radio. We all know that. And as a matter of fact, one one of my investigators, when he was a child, 9 years old, his father worked at Newcastle Airport. Now, at the time, Newcastle Airport, from what I understand, they had a F-89s. They had a small reserve section there at Newcastle Airport, and his father worked there, and his father came in the house. Their house was located right basically on a flight line on the other side of the fence of the airport. And his father came in and says, "Stay in the house. Do not come outside. Do not look outside." Well, of course, first thing you're going to do is look outside. And my buddy here, he was 9 years old, and he went outside and looked and at the very end of the airport, on the runway, there was a hovering disc on the end of the runway, and this thing took off at a phenomenal speed. And this was exactly the same dates that they had the 1952 sightings over Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I see that. And this is one that they could not explain themselves out of. No. They were in the bag on this one, and people knew it. But now we only got 2 minutes left, so please let people know where they can get a hold of you again and how they can connect with you.
Well, I'm on Facebook. Well, I've been put in Facebook jail 22 times. And
I think
seriously.
I met you in there.
Yeah. And I'm out right now, but I started a new website, allpatriotsfortrump.com. And but you can reach me at my websites, worldufophotos.org, worldufophotosannews.org. And my other website, some of my discoveries on Mars is, it would be New Discoveries 51 at YOLOsite, YOLOSITE.com. So I have a ton of discoveries on that website. So, yeah, that's really about it. You can get me at newdiscoveries51@gmail.com. I'd be wanting to hear from anyone out there. But this has been exciting. It's an honor to be on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, this was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Well, you have me on again. We've only touched the tip of the iceberg.
I know.
We will call, and now we got 30 seconds left. So everybody out there listening, we'll be back next week. And until then, be good to each other.
You've been listening to Broadcast Team Alpha.
Broadcast Team Alpha.
Hosted by Nori Love and Augie Nost. Every Tuesday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The balance of power is shifting to a new paradigm. Will you be ready? For more information on Broadcast Team Alpha, as well as the hosts, Nori Love and Augie Nost, please visit their website at broadcastteamalpha.com. Until next week, remember to keep those minds open while always exploring the endless quantum possibilities.
Broadcast Team Alpha. Over and out.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.